Welcome to the teaching learning session of sociology. This is seventh lecture in lecture series of sociology. In this lecture, we'll start with the new subject Sociology of India. In this lecture, we'll discuss about the social background of emergence of sociology in India. Sociology is a humanistic science. It therefore has to take into account the specific ideas and ideals, values and aspirations, problems and dilemma of concrete groups, particular historical circumstances, even when it tries to attain generalization about human relations. India has a rich heritage of thinking and reflection on socio-cultural reality. There have been recorded observations on Indian society since the 3rd century BC. India has millennium old living tradition contained in the religious and philosophical texts. These discuss the ideas about men and society. Manu, the upholder of norms of maintaining varnas, did not abruptly dismiss the rights of those who deviated from the norms after the fashion of Aristotle, who denied the right to those who deviated from the norms after the fashion of Aristotle, who denied the rights of citizens to the slaves of Athenian society. Further, it is often forgotten that the scope and variety of ancient social thoughts were very large. Besides Dharma Shastras, it also produced Arth Shastras, Kam Shastras, Vart Shastras, and Vastu Shastras, which is related to mundane life of social reality. Kautilya's Arthashastras, urging upon the king to take regular census of the subject and the livestock. Chark Samhita, advising the healer to take into consideration the norms and values and customs of people who would approach them strongly, refute the charge of lack of attention to empirical data in the ancient Indian tradition. Sociography in classical and Arab Persian account. Relatively solid empirical foundation for understanding the culture and society of India lies scattered in writing of many travelers and storytellers. These travelers include Greek, Romans, Jews, Chinese, increasingly from AD 1000 onwards, Arabs, Turks, Afghans, and Persians. Most of the classical accounts of Indian society follow Megasthenes, the Greek ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. He had advantage of direct observation of the parts of India. He described the Indian society as being divided into seven classes, though he did not refer to the Varna theory. Three Chinese travelers, Fa Hein, Yuan Chong, and I Sing, described the socio-cultural conditions of their time in India in a great detail. An analysis of their accounts in a chronological order may give a valuable perspective on change in Indian society. Among the Arab travelers, Al Biruni seems to have been familiar with Sanskrit sources and the Indian system of thoughts. He mentioned the four Varnas theory of caste in his descriptions of social life and customs of the people. A sort of sociological approach may be traced in his comments on the ethnocentric dilemma of the Hindus. Ibn Battuta, Arab traveler from Morocco, offered a valuable information regarding the geography of the land. or socio-cultural conditions and daily life of people of India between AD 1333 and AD 1347. Socio-economic condition of India at the advent of British rule. The establishment of rule in the later 18th century prompted rapid acquisition of knowledge of the classical languages of India, of the structure of society, and of values and manners of her people by British officials, missionaries, and also Western scholars. The diverse response of native intellectuals to the ferment created by all these may be better understood in the light of the principal features of Indian society and culture prevailing at that time. Three major approaches of Western intellectuals to Indian society and culture. By the end of 18th century, three types of Western interpretation of Indian reality became evident. First was the Orientalist, second, the missionaries, and the third, the administrative. The Orientalists were captivated by Indian spiritual tradition, mythology, philosophy, etc. Their dependence on the textual view led to a picture of Indian society as being static, timeless, and spaceless. According to them, Indian society is static, timeless, and spaceless. The missionaries, who were the extremists of the Christian religion tradition, looked at it as a socio-cultural and ethnic system which needed total religious tradition. Looked at it as a socio-cultural and ethnic system which needed total religious conversions. Both the group agreed emergence of sociology in India that Hinduism as practiced within the territory of their observation was filled with superstitions and abuses. Though the Orientalists considered the situation of their contemporary India as a fall from golden age. The missionaries, of course, added a lot to the empirical study of the Indian society, which was strengthened by the administrator. The interpretation of Indian reality by the administrators trained in the British universities and trained by the utilitarian rationalism was more pragmatic and more matter of fact. Their purpose was to understand it in order to exploit its resources. The administrators sought to develop categories that would help them in ordering their ideas, actions related to the life of the natives of India, avoiding the enormous complexities characterizing it. For example, B.H. Baden-Powell's three-volume of the Land System of British India were not just a compilation of data but contained a series of arguments about the nature of Indian villages and its resources in relation to the state and its demand over these resources. Baden-Powell strongly contested Henry Main's view that there was only one type of Indian village, politically autonomous and economically self sufficient village community. It continued to fascinate what the Western thinkers such as Marx and Metcalfe and the Indian Metcalfe observed the village communities seems to last even nothing else lasts. The idea of unchanging village community was incorporated into general social theory of later 19th and also 20th centuries. The Marxists view the British rule as an unconscious tool of the history, breaking the stagnation of Indian society founded on unchanging village communities. The Indian nationalist, on the other hand, came to rely on R.C. Dutt's economic history of India to establish that it was the evils of British imperial rules which degraded India from this restful state of village republics with agricultural prosperity to the conditions of stagnated rural economy dominated by moneylenders and landlords. Early sociological beginnings, Karl Marx and Max Weber, as well as Durkheim, depended on British and continental writing on India for their analysis of Indian society and culture. W.H.R. River studied the Toda caste in 1906. It was based on the intensive field work. His study was based on the intensive field work and was the first monograph on the people of India in modern anthropological tradition. Two of his students, G.S. Ghure and K.P. Chattopadhyay, came to play a significant role in development of sociology and anthropology in India. River study was followed by A.R. Radcliffe Brown's on the Islanders. Radcliffe Brown studied the Andaman Islanders. During the first two decades, two Indian scholars, L.K. Ananthakrishnan Iyer and S.C. Roy, made their mark in anthropology, though both of them lacked any formal training in the discipline. Roy research work among the tribes of Bihar. He founded and edited the famous journal Man in India. Iyer, because of his anthropological writing, was appointed to a lecturership in ethnography in Calcutta University, which surfaced the way of the first university department of anthropology in India. Bajendranath Seal, as a professor of philosophy at Calcutta University, Seal wrote, lectured, and initiated studies on what he called comparative sociology. He made a comparative study of Vaishnavism and wrote a paper on race origin and essays on the positive sciences of ancient Hindus. He argued that social development was multilinear and judgments regarding the superiority or inferiority of social customs and institutions hardly made any sense. He observed that social institutions could be properly studied only in the context of race, religion, and culture. The recognition of sociology as a separate academic discipline came much later than economics or political science in Indian universities. The first department of sociology and civics started in Bombay University in 1919 under the leadership of Sir Patrick Geddes. In this country, he was known for his interest in town planning, with emphasis on the problem of urban deterioration. His report on the town planning of Calcutta, Indore, and the temple cities of South India contains much useful information and displays his acute awareness of the problem of urban disorganization and renewal. Geddes exercises influence on the development of sociology in India, though his students G.S. Ghure and N.A. Thuti, N.A. Thuti in particular observed Srinivas tried to carry further Geddes' line of research on his return to Bombay after obtaining a doctorate at Oxford. Radha Kamal Mukherjee, the pioneer of Lucknow School of Sociology in India, was also influenced by Geddes as he came in association with Geddes in urban surveys. Mukherjee subsequently carried out studies on social ecology and sociological effects of industrialization. G.S. Gure, the father of Indian sociology, obtained a doctorate from the Cambridge mainly for his work on caste. Under his leadership, Bombay became the leading center for sociology, especially research in the country. Gure had students from all over the country. Some of them were heads of active departments and wrote significant books and papers. Gure himself wrote effectively on a great emergence of sociology in India, 23 varieties of themes. Ghure's knowledge of Sanskrit enabled him to use scriptures and epics in analyzing and interpreting Indian culture and society. He insisted on the field work, though he himself was an armchair sociologist. The Lucknow University became another center of sociology and anthropology because of contribution of Radha Kamal Mukherjee, Durjati Prasad Mukherjee, and anthropologist D. N. Majumdar. You should remember all these names: Radha Kamal Mukherjee, Gure, Durjati Prasad Mukherjee, D. N. Majumdar, S.C. Dubey. Radha Kamal Mukherjee was greatly influenced by Bajendra Nath Seal, Binoy Kumar Sarkar, and Patrick Geddes. In his earlier work, he was empirically oriented and sought to build a regional and ecological society. He stressed the need of multidisciplinary effort to grasp reality better. He worked and wrote an amazing variety of social, economic, and cultural subjects and philosophical issues. His field and farmers of Oudh offer a good example of study of agrarian studies. He wrote also on the Indian labor class. He developed a theory of human migration and settlement in which he argued that human beings, like plants, thrive best in those frontiers which are similar in environment to those in which they have already succeeded. D.P. Mukherjee, like Radha Kamal Mukherjee, acknowledges the relevance of Indian traditions and philosophy for arriving at valid theoretical and conceptual scheme for the study of Indian society. But unlike Radha Kamal and D.P. Mukherjee, does not totally reject the Marxian contribution, particularly its dialectical logic articulating the centrality of the process of conflict and contradiction in social process. A combined department of sociology and anthropology under the leadership of Iravati Karve was started in 1930s in the ambit of Deccan College and the Postgraduate Research Institute in Pune. Karve, authoress of a famous work, Kinship Organization in India, did extensive fieldwork in different parts of the country, and her knowledge of Sanskrit gave her access to the data in structures, laws, and epics. Story of early beginners of sociology in this country should mention the contribution of Nirmal Kumar Bose. though he could not continuously serve the academia because of his imprisonment during the freedom struggle. His approach was historical, but he insisted on the field work by researcher without any prejudgment in mind. His interests include the tribal life, peasant society, and the urban centers, as well as temple and pilgrims. He sought to demonstrate that production relations explain the persistence of caste system and changes occurring in it. He demonstrated the unity and diversity in Indian peasant life through the study of the distribution of cultural traits across the length and breadth of India. Sociology and independent India. The study of sociology and social anthropology gradually and slowly become professionalized during 1910 to 1950. Autonomous department on these two subjects did not exist in more than half a dozen universities, and the Bombay University was the only center of postgraduate research in sociology, which included anthropology, when India became independent. Sociology in the post independent India. Sociology and anthropology were gradually introduced in different universities, initially in other departments of studies such as economics, social philosophy, etc. But later, several full-fledged departments of sociologists developed in different parts of India. During the year 1910 to 1950, the two disciplines become the professionalized. But during this phase too, sociology was not taught in more than half a dozen universities, and Bombay was only center of postgraduate research in sociology and social anthropology in the country. However, as its popularity increased, its acceptance in other universities began to take place. Sociology became a discipline at this time which did not draw from the knowledge of mathematics and statistics, such as economics did, came to be preferred by the larger section of students who found it to be a soft option. It is only later that sociology syllabi became more standardized, and some university made provisions for teaching research methodology and statistics at master level. In due course of time, sociology gained a prestige and emergence of sociology in India. In post-independence period, with the introduction of planned development in country and creation of National Planning Commission, significant changes started taking place in the growth and development of sociology and anthropology in India. A research program committee for funding social sciences research related to planning and development was created by Planning Commission. The creation of a program evaluation board and planning commission with branches in each state created jobs for sociologists and anthropologists. Along with this development, another important development took place, which was an increase in awareness of the relevance of the social science to the process of planning amongst the educated. This was reflected in Planning Commission's recommendation in 1966 to found an Indian Council of Social Science Research ICSSR. ICSSR came into existence in September 1969 with the late D.R. Gadgil as the first chairman. The 70s period saw further continuation and diversification of interest and specialization in substantive area of research and teaching since the 1960s. M.S.A. Rao says that while village community studies dominated research earlier, interest in such problems as agrarian relation, land reform, peasant, agricultural labors, scheduled caste, and tribe began to attract increasing attention of sociologists and social anthropologists. The 70s could be reviewed under three heads. First is areas of interest and specialization which get crystallized. Second, areas of interest which have developed but not yet got crystallized. And the third is emergence of new approaches in the established areas. Peasant studies and agrarian social structure emerged as a distinct area of research interest in 70s. These studies marked a departure from the earlier village community studies with emphasis on caste and village solidarity. However, village studies continue to hold an attention of some sociologists. For example, Srinivas in 1976 closely related with the area of peasant studies in study of peasant movement, which attracted the attention of some sociologists. Three other areas of interest in sociology which got crystallized during the 70s were industrial sociology, urban sociology, and social stratification. In industrial sociology, there have been work of N.R. Seth and P.J. Patel, which trace the trends in development of industrial sociology. Another major area of interest and specialization was social stratification in 70s. A large number of studies were published in 70s, such as the efforts of Andre Bataille and Yogendra Singh. Srinivas' studies on caste and religion employed not only the structural functional nature of caste and religion but also the dynamics of caste system in Indian villages. He developed the conceptual tool to study the aspects of castes such as Sanskritization, Westernization, concept of dominant caste to understand the power relation within the village society. Y.B. Damle advocated the use of reference group theory in explaining caste mobility. Andre Bataille used the Weberian framework of class, status, and the party to study caste, class, and power in a Tanjore village. Louis Dumont, a French sociologist, studied caste in India using the structuralist method in his famous book Homo Hierarchus. He revived the interest in caste studies in 1970s. He focused on the need to understand the ideology of caste as given in the Hindu scriptures and classical texts. He advocated the use of an ideological and structuralist approach to study the caste system and village social structure in India. A new trend in sociological research developed in 1960s and 70s in the area of rural sociology. The new interest focused on the basic changes in the rural social structure initiated through land reform measures since independence. The new trends gave more attention to class formation among the peasantry, social mobility among the different rural strata, and the newly emerging contradiction in rural areas. This new trend turned from micro level inquiries to macro level analytical exercise. Concept of unity and diversity. What is diversity? Diversity means collective difference. That is, difference which mark off one group of people from another. These differences may be of any sort: biological, religious, linguistic. On the basis of biological differences, for example, we have a racial diversity. The term diversity is opposite to uniformity. Uniformity means similarities of some sort that characterizes the people. Uni refers to one and form refers to common ways. Diversity means variety. For all practical purposes, it means variety of groups and cultures. We have such variety in abundance in India. We have here a variety of races, of religion, of language, of caste, and of cultures. For the same reason, India is known for its socio-cultural diversity. What is unity? Unity means integration. It is a social psychological condition. It means sense of oneness, a sense of oneness. It stands for the bond which holds the member of society together. There is a difference between unity and uniformity too, like diversity and uniformity. Uniformity presupposes similarity. Unity doesn't. Thus, unity may or may not be based on uniformity. Unity may be born out of uniformity. Durkheim calls this type of unity a mechanical solidarity. We find this type of unity in tribal societies and in traditional societies. However, unity may as well be based on the differences. It is such unity which is described by Durkheim as organic solidarity. This type of unity characterizes modern society. Forms of diversities in India. There are some important forms of diversities in India, like racial, linguistic, religious, and caste based diversities. Racial diversities. A race is a group of people with a set of distinctive physical features such as skin color, type of nose, form of hair, etc. Herbert Ridgely had classified the people of India into seven racial types. These are Turco-Iranian, Indo-Aryan, Scytho-Dravidians, Aryo-Dravidians, Mongolo-Dravidians, and Mongoloids and Dravidians. These seven racial types can be reduced to the three basic types: Indo-Aryan, Mongolians, and third is Dravidians. Other administrative officers and anthropologists like J.H. Hutton, D.N. Majumdar, B.S. Guha had given the latest racial classification of Indian people based on the further researches in this field. Hutton's and Guha's classification are based on 1931 census operation. B.S. Guha has identified six racial types: the Negretto, the Proto-Australoids, the Mongoloids, the Mediterranean, the Western Brachycephalus, and the Nordic. Negritos are the people who belong to the black racial stock as found in Africa. They have black skin color, frizzled hair, thick lips, In India, some of the tribes in South India, such as Kadar, Irula, Panian, have distinct Negrito strains. Next is the Proto-Australoids, consists of ethnic group which includes the Australian natives and other people of southern Asia and Pacific islands. Representative of these groups are the Vedda of Sri Lanka, Sakai of Malaysia. In India, the tribes of Middle India belongs to this strain. Some of these tribes are the Ho of Singh Bhumi, Bihar, and the Bhil of Vindhya range. Ho and Bhil. Next is the Mongoloids, are the major racial stock native to Asia, including the people of northern and eastern Asia. For example, Chinese, Japanese, Burmese, Eskimos, and often American Indians also belong to this race. In India, northeastern region have tribes of brachycephalic Mongoloid strain. A slightly different kind of Mongoloid racial stock is found in Brahmaputra Valley. The Mikir Bodo group of tribe and the Angami Nagas represent the best example of Mongoloid race composition in India. The Mediterranean races relate to the Caucasian physical type, that is the white race. It is characterized by medium or short stature, slender building, long head with cephalic index of less than 75 and dark complexion. The western brachycephalists are divided into three subgroups. The alpinoid, characterized by the broad head, medium stature, light skin, found amongst the Bania castes of Gujarat, the castes of Bengal. Second is the Denaric. They are characterized by broad head, long nose, tall stature, and dark skin, found amongst the Brahmin of Bengal and non-Brahmins of Karnataka. And the third is the Armenoid. They are characterized by feature similar to Denaric. The Armenoid have more marked shape of back of head, a prominent and narrow nose. The Parsi of Bombay show the typical characteristics of Armenoid race. The Nordic race belongs to the physical type characterized by tall structure, long head, light skin and hair, and blue eyes. They are found in Scandinavian countries and Europe. In India, they are found in different parts of north of the country, especially in Punjab and Rajasthan. The Kho, the red Kafirs, are the some of the representatives of this type. Research suggests that Nordics came from the north, probably from the southeast Russia and southwest Siberia, through Central Asia to India. Second type of diversity is linguistic diversity. 18 languages are listed in Schedule 8 of Indian Constitution. These are Assamese, Bengali, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Konkani, Malayalam, Marathi, Nepali, Odia, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Sindhi, Tamil, Telugu, and Urdu. Out of these 18 languages, Hindi is spoken by 39.85% of total population. Bengali, Telugu, and Marathi by around 8% of each. Tamil and Urdu by 6.26 and 5.22%. and the rest by less than 5% as per the census 1991 census report. Constitutionally recognized languages belong to two linguistic families, Indo-Aryan and Dravidians. Malayalam, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu are four major Dravidian languages. The languages of Indo-Aryan family are spoken by 75% of India's total population, while the language of Dravidian family are spoken by the 20%. Next type of diversity is religious diversity. India is land of multiple religions. We find here the followers of various faiths, particularly of Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, and many others. Then there are sects within each religion. Hinduism, for example, has many sects, including Shivas, Shakta, Vaishnava. Add to them the sect born or religious reform movement such as Arya Samaj, Brahmo Samaj, Ramakrishna Mission. More recently, some new cults have come up such as Radha Swami, Sai Baba, etc. Similarly, Islam is divided into Shia and Sunni, Sikhism into Namdhari and Nirankari, Jainism into Dikambar and Shwetambar, and Buddhism into Hinayan and Mahayan. Next is caste diversity. India is country of castes. The term caste is generally used in two senses, sometimes in the sense of varna and sometimes in the sense of jati. Varna refers to the segment of the fourfold divisions of Hindu society based on the functional criteria. The four Varna are Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra with their specialized function as learning, defense, trade, and manual services. The Varna hierarchy is accepted all over India. Jati refers to a hereditary endogamous status, group practicing a specific tradition and occupation. There are among more than 3,000 jatis in India. These are hierarchically graded in different ways in different regions. The practice of caste system is not confined to Hindus only, it is among the Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, as well as other communities. Major form of diversity like settlement pattern, tribal, rural, urban, marriage and kinship patterns, along with religious and regional lines, cultural patterns reflecting regional variations, and so on. Bonds of unity in India. There are bonds of unity underlying all diversities. These bonds of unity may be located in certain uniformity of life as well as certain mechanism of integration. Census Commissioner in 1911 Herbert Risley was right when he observed, beneath the manifold diversity of physical and social type, language, custom, and religion, which strikes the observer in India, there can still be a certain underlying uniformity of life from the Himalayas to Cape Comorin. Bonds of unity of India are geopolitical unity, the institution of pilgrimage, tradition of accommodation, tradition of interdependence. Geopolitical unity. The first bond of unity of India is found in its geopolitical integration. India is known for its geographical unity, marked by the Himalayas in the north and the oceans on the other sides. Politically, India is now a sovereign state. The same constitution, same parliament governs every part of it. We share the same political culture, marked by the norms of democracy, secularism, and socialism. The expression of this consciousness of geopolitical unity of India are found in Rig Vedas, in the laws of Ashokas, in Buddhist monuments, and in various other resources. The idea of geopolitical unity of India is also reflected in the concept of Bharatvarsha, Chakravarti, and Ek Chhatra Adhipatya. Next is the institution of pilgrimage. Another source of unity of India lies in temple culture, which is reflected in the network of shrines and sacred places. From Badrinath and Kedarnath to Rameshwaram to Jagannath Puri to Dwaraka, and holy rivers are spread throughout the length and breadth of the country. Closely related to the theme is the age old culture of pilgrimage, which has always moved people to various parts of the country and fostered in them a sense of geocultural unity. Being an expression of religious sentiment, pilgrimage is also an expression of love for the motherhood, a sort of mode of worship of the country. It has played a significant part in promoting interaction and cultural affinity among the people living in different parts of the country. Pilgrimage can be viewed as a mechanism of geocultural unity. Tradition of accommodation. Indian culture has remarkable quality of accommodation and tolerance. Next is tradition of interdependence. India had a remarkable tradition of interdependence, which has held us together throughout the centuries. One manifestation of it is found in the form of a Jajmani system, a system of functional interdependence of caste. That is a system of functional interdependence of caste. Jajmani relation were conspicuous in village life as they entitled ritual matters, social support, as well as economic exchange. The whole of a local social order was involved in such Jajmani links. A pattern had Jajmani relation with member of a high caste. He also required the service of specialists from the lower jati to perform those necessary tasks. Those associated in these interdependent relations were expected and to be were broadly supportive of each other with qualities of ready to help that are generally close kinsmen were expected to show. The Jajmani relations usually involved multi kinds of payments and obligation as well as multiple functions. Each caste was functional group in that it rendered a specified services to the other caste groups. Jadmani system is that mechanism which was formulated and regulated this functional interdependence. In its actual practice, the institution of Jajmani provides for interlinkage between the people of different religious groups. Meaning and nature of social change. What is social change? The unity deals with changing India. Like all societies, India is also changing, accommodating new changes. In sociology, social change is change that occurs in social structure and social relationship. Change in social structure and social relationship is social change. The International Encyclopedia of Social Science looks at the change as an important change that occurs in social structure or in the pattern of actions and interactions in societies. Shift may occur in norms, values, cultural products, and symbols in society. Other definition of change also points out that change implies, above all other things, changes in structure and function of social system, institutions, pattern of interaction, work, roles, norms, and other aspects of society can be altered over time as a result of a process of social change. There are three aspects of social change. Social change is essentially a process of alteration with no reference to quality of change. Changes in society are related or linked to changes in culture, so that it would be sometimes useful to talk about socio-cultural change. Some sociologists, however, differentiate between the social change and cultural change. Social change is defined in alteration in social structure, including the change in the size of the society, or in particularly the social institutions or the relationship between the institution. They feel that social change refers mainly to the actual human behavior. Cultural change, on the other hand, refers to variation in cultural phenomenon such as knowledge, idea, art, religion, values, belief system, symbol system, and so on. This distinction is abstract because in many situations it is difficult or nearly impossible to decide which type of change is occurring. So, social change or cultural change. Social change can vary in its scope and in speed. Changes can be small scale or large scale change. Changes can take a cyclic pattern. We discussed it in our last lecture. It can also be revolutionary. Changes can also include short-term changes, example migration rate, as well as long-term changes in economic structure. Social changes, both growth and decline in membership and size of social institution. Change may include continuous process like specialization and also include discontinuous process such as particular technical or social invention which appears at the some point of time. Changes are also varies in scope in that it may influence many aspects of the society, and social change can disrupt the whole social system. Some changes occur rapidly but other takes a long time. Change is natural, inevitable, ever present part of life in every society. When we are looking at social change, we are focusing not only on the change in the experience of an individual, but on variation in social structure, institution, and social relationship. Evolution expresses continuity and direction of change. It means more than growth. Growth implies a direction of change, but essentially in size or quality. Evolution involves something more than intrinsic, a change not only in size but also of structure. Progress implies change in direction towards some final desired goals. It involves a value judgment. All changes are not evolutionary and all changes are not progressive. Discussion of direction of change need not involve any value judgment. Sociological theories and concepts of social change. There are various sociological theories. Human societies are always in transition, experiencing a variety of dynamic changes and passing through old stage to enter into the new. They are ever changing. They grow, decay, expand technologically, and develop. In this process, they experience modification in values, ideologies, the institutions, and population. They undergo variation over a period of time. In the early sociological writing, the term and notion of development and change are used interchangeably. A clear distinction could either not be made, or if made, they were treated as logically related terms. In many of the early sociological theories of 19th and early 20th century, the notion of change, development, evolution, and progress are sometimes confused or combined in a single term. So don't get confused. Auguste Comte, according to Auguste Comte tried to understand the social change that occurred in the early years of industrial revolution as an evolutionary process. Evolution implies gradual transformation or changes through a series of stages. The theory of evolution explains that societies passes through a number of stages, starting from a simple form and becoming a more complex as a process of evolution. Auguste Comte put forward the idea of evolutionary changes and also related the idea of progressive changes through the development of intellect, in particularly the scientific thoughts. He was of the opinion that the human mind, human society, and human knowledge all went through a process of development and change from metaphysical, that is non scientific stage, to positivism, that is scientific. Herbert Spencer treated human society as a biological organism and therefore tried to study development in sense of change from within. In his opinion, social bodies are like living bodies. Thus, with increase in size, their structural complexity too increases. Spencer advocated an analogy between the society and an organism and between social and economic growth. Emile Durkheim, according to Emile Durkheim, society, he saw this society in terms of an evolutionary scheme. He talked about social solidarity. By solidarity, he means that moral beliefs and ideas which define the commonness underlying social life. Like evolutionist, he opined that pre-industrial society, mechanical solidarity was there and it was based on the agreement and identity among people, while the post industrial society, organic solidarity, derived from the agreement to tolerate a range of differences, conflicts being moderated through a variety of institutional arrangements. Division of labor was almost absent in pre industrial society, while it is highly specialized and categorical in modern society. Durkheim tried to explain social change as a result of change in the bonds of morality, which he called a social solidarity. He also laid emphasis on the process of social evolution. According to him, alteration in modes of functioning of society as organic whole could be studied scientifically. Max Weber examined the question of development and change in the context of his study on capitalism. According to him, culture is the key element in development. Unlike Durkheim, he tried to find as to what it was in the people's religious and ethical belief that had enabled societies which started with similar technological benefaction to develop and change in quite different ways. Well, students, that's all for today. In next lecture, we'll continue with this. Thank you very much. Namaskar.